Imagine a man named David. For years, he did everything right. He worked tirelessly at a corporate job, saved diligently, and mapped out his future with careful precision. He believed that stability was the key to happiness. But then, life threw him into chaos. Without warning, his company downsized. In a single conversation, the job he had dedicated years of his life to was gone. As if that wasn't enough, his long-term relationship, once filled with dreams of a shared future, crumbled under the weight of growing distance. In just a matter of weeks, the foundation he had built for himself collapsed. Fear gripped him, fear of failure, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. At first, he tried to fight it. He spent sleepless nights applying for jobs, scrolling endlessly through social media, and drowning himself in distractions, TV, alcohol, meaningless conversations. But nothing worked. His mind refused to be quiet. What if I never recover? What if I'm falling behind? What if my best years are already gone? The fear wasn't just in his thoughts, it lived in his body, tightening his chest, weighing on his shoulders, making every step feel heavy. One night, after yet another restless evening, he reached for a book he had never paid much attention to before, a book on Buddhism. With nothing left to lose, he started reading. And then, he came across a passage that shook him to his core. It is your mind that creates this suffering. Fear is nothing more than an illusion. Let it go, and you will be free. In that moment, something shifted. He had spent so much time trying to escape his fear, to fight it, to push it away. But what if the answer wasn't in resisting, but in understanding? That night, instead of numbing himself with distractions, David sat in silence. He observed his thoughts. He saw how his fears weren't real, they were stories his mind had crafted. And for the first time in months, he felt something strange, relief. This was just the beginning. Over the following months, David immersed himself in Buddhist teachings. He learned how to let go of the illusion of control, how to embrace impermanence, and how to live fully in the present. Fear still appeared, but it no longer ruled him. And this journey, the journey from fear to freedom, is what we will explore today. 6 powerful Buddhist lessons that can help you break free from anxiety, transform your mindset, and reclaim your life. Are you ready to let go of fear? Let's begin. Lesson 1. Embrace impermanence. Anicca, everything changes. One of the most profound and liberating teachings in Buddhism is anicca, the law of impermanence. It is the understanding that nothing in life remains the same, everything is constantly shifting, evolving, and eventually fading away. Our emotions, relationships, careers, and even our fears, none of them are permanent. Yet, fear often arises from our resistance to this truth. We cling to the familiar, desperately trying to hold on to what feels safe. We fear the loss of our jobs, our health, the people we love. We fear change because it reminds us that we are not in control. But here's the paradox. The very thing we fear, change, is also the thing that frees us. Because if nothing lasts forever, then neither does suffering, neither does pain, neither does fear itself. The story of Hiroshi, a man who lost everything. Hiroshi was a successful businessman in Tokyo. For over 20 years, he built his company from the ground up. He was admired, respected, and financially secure. His life seemed unshakable. Until one day, everything crumbled. A sudden economic crisis sent shockwaves through the market. His business collapsed overnight, his fortune gone, his status destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the identity he had spent decades constructing no longer existed. At first, Hiroshi was paralyzed by fear. His mind was consumed by regret and anxiety. How could this happen? What will people think of me? Who am I without my success? For months, he drowned in despair, unable to move forward. He clung to the past, wishing things could return to how they were, but they never did. Then, one evening, in a small temple on the outskirts of Kyoto, Hiroshi heard a Zen monk say something that changed his life. Suffering is not in loss itself, but in resisting what already is. Let go, and you will be free. At that moment, he understood. His suffering wasn't coming from his failure, it was coming from his refusal to accept it. He had been fighting impermanence, when in reality, it had been present all along. From that day forward, Hiroshi embraced change instead of fearing it. He let go of his old identity and started again, not from desperation, but from acceptance. Years later, he built a new life, one that wasn't based on clinging to success, but on flowing with the natural rhythm of life. How to apply this in your life? 1. Observe the impermanence around you. Look at the changing seasons, the movement of clouds, the way a river flows. Every sunrise is different from the last. Nothing is static. The more you notice this, the more natural change will feel. 2. Let go of attachment. Instead of fearing loss, cherish what you have in the present. Appreciate your relationships, your health, and your experiences, not with a desperate grip, but with gratitude for their temporary beauty. 3. When fear arises, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Just as joy is temporary, so is pain. Just as anxiety rises, it will also fade. The more you embrace this truth, the less fear will control you. 4. Flow with change instead of resisting it. When unexpected challenges arise, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" Shift your mindset from victimhood to wisdom. When you fully accept impermanence, you stop seeing change as a threat and start seeing it as life's natural rhythm. Fear no longer paralyzes you because you realize, whatever happens, you will adapt, you will grow, and you will be okay. And just like Hiroshi, you can rebuild, not from fear, not from resistance, but from a place of peace. Lesson 2. See through the illusion of fear. Fear is a master illusionist. It weaves intricate stories in our minds, making us believe that disaster is always just around the corner. The Buddha taught that our thoughts create our reality, but what happens when those thoughts are fueled by fear? Most fears are not based on reality, they are a collection of what-ifs that may never come true. Yet, we react to them as if they are real, allowing them to dictate our actions, limit our choices, and keep us from truly living. But here's the truth: fear is not fact. It is a mental projection, a story we tell ourselves, and like any story, it can be rewritten. The story of Maya, overcoming the fear of public speaking. Maya had always dreamed of being a teacher. She loved learning, loved sharing knowledge, and wanted to inspire others. But there was one problem: she was terrified of speaking in front of people. Whenever she imagined standing in front of a class, her mind painted a vivid picture of failure. She saw herself stuttering, her voice cracking, the audience whispering, laughing, judging. The fear was so intense that it stopped her from even trying. For years, she let this fear define her. Every time an opportunity to speak arose, she found an excuse to avoid it. But deep down, she knew, if she wanted to live her dream, she had to face this fear. One day, Maya decided to confront it head-on. With trembling hands, she agreed to give a small talk at a local community center. As she stepped onto the stage, her heart pounded, her mind screamed warnings of humiliation. But then, something unexpected happened. As she began speaking, the audience didn't laugh. Nobody judged her. In fact, they were listening, attentively, warmly. She saw nods of encouragement, smiles of understanding. The very thing she had feared for years had never been real. Her mind had exaggerated the threat. Fear had created a prison that never actually existed. At that moment, Maya realized, fear only has power if we believe in it. But when we look at it clearly, we see it for what it is, an illusion. How to apply this in your life? 1. Question your fear. Oh, when fear arises, Pause and ask yourself, is this real? Or is this just a thought? Oh, are you truly in danger? Or is your mind creating a worst-case scenario that may never happen? 2. Separate fact from fiction. Oh, imagine you're about to give a presentation. Your mind says, you will fail, everyone will laugh at you. But is that a fact? No, it is just a mental projection. Oh, if you look at the situation rationally, you'll see that most people are too focused on themselves to harshly judge others. 3. Expose fear to the light. Oh, fear thrives in the shadows of avoidance. The more you avoid something, the bigger and scarier it becomes. Oh, but when you face it directly, you rob it of its power. Just like Maya, you'll often find that reality is far kinder than your imagination. 4. Take small steps. Oh, if something terrifies you, don't run from it, break it down into smaller, manageable actions. Oh, if you fear public speaking, start by speaking in front of a mirror, then to a friend, then to a small group. Each step will weaken fear's grip. Fear is a shadow, shine light on it. Fear is like a shadow, it looks terrifying from a distance. But when you move closer and shine light on it, you realize there was never anything to fear at all. So, the next time fear whispers, you can't do this, smile and respond, I see you, but you don't control me. Because the truth is, you are stronger than fear. Lesson 3. Cultivate mindfulness, sati, stay present, stay free. Fear is like a time traveler. It rarely exists in the present moment. Instead, it drags us back into the past, making us relive regrets and mistakes. Or it pulls us into the future, drowning us in worries about things that may never happen. Think about it. When was the last time you felt fear in the exact moment you were in? Most of the time, fear comes from thoughts, not reality. The solution: mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, of bringing your attention back to what is happening right now. When you cultivate mindfulness, fear loses its power over you. The Zen story of the strawberry. There is an old Zen story about a man being chased by a tiger. As he ran, he reached the edge of a cliff. With nowhere to go, he jumped, catching hold of a vine hanging from the side of the cliff. Above him, the tiger growled, waiting for him to climb back up. Below him, sharp rocks threatened to crush him if he let go. Then, as he hung there between life and death, he noticed something, a single, ripe strawberry growing from the vine. With one hand gripping the vine, he reached out, plucked the strawberry, and put it in his mouth. It was the sweetest strawberry he had ever tasted. In that moment, he was not thinking about the tiger. He was not thinking about the fall. He was simply experiencing the pure joy of the present moment. The lesson: fear exists when we resist the present and focus on what might happen. But when we fully engage with what is here and now, fear disappears. How to apply this in your life? 1. Practice mindful breathing. Oh, when fear arises, pause, take a deep breath in, and slowly exhale. Oh, focus on each breath, how it feels as it enters and leaves your body. Oh, your breath is your anchor. It keeps you rooted in the present. 2. Be aware of your body. Oh, fear is not just a thought, it manifests physically. Your heart may race, your chest may feel tight, your hands may tremble. Oh, instead of fighting these sensations, simply observe them. Say to yourself, here is fear. Oh, when you stop resisting, the fear begins to lose its grip. 3. Engage in mindful activities. Oh, when you walk, walk slowly, feel each step, the air on your skin, the ground beneath you. Oh, when you eat, eat mindfully, notice the flavors, the textures, the act of chewing and swallowing. Oh, when you listen to someone, be fully present, hear their words, their tone, their emotions. 4. When fear arises, Ask yourself, oh, is this fear happening right now? Or is it a thought about the future? Oh, if it's not happening now, let it go, return to the present. Fear cannot control a mind that is fully present. The man in the story did not deny the danger of the tiger or the cliff, but he also did not let fear steal the beauty of the present moment. This is mindfulness, this is freedom. And when you live in the now, fear loses its control over you. Lesson 4. Understand the nature of suffering, dukkha. You are not alone. Fear is not unique to you. It is not a personal failure, nor is it a sign of weakness. It is simply one of the many forms of dukkha, suffering. An inevitable part of the human experience. We often believe our struggles are different, that no one else feels as lost, as anxious, or as afraid as we do, but the truth is, everyone suffers, everyone fears. The Buddha taught that suffering is universal, and in recognizing this, we find relief. You are not alone. The story of Kissa Gotami, a mother's grief. A woman named Kissa Gotami lived a simple but joyful life with her husband and child. But tragedy struck. Her only son, still a baby, fell ill and died in her arms. Her world shattered. She could not accept the loss. In her grief, she carried her son's lifeless body from house to house, begging for help. "Please, someone, bring my child back to life," she cried. People turned her away, unable to ease her pain. Finally, someone told her to seek out the Buddha, perhaps he could help. When she found him, she fell at his feet. "Please, Master, bring my son back." The Buddha looked at her with deep compassion and said, "I will help you, Kissa Gotami, but first, you must bring me a mustard seed from a house that has never known loss." Hope ignited in her heart. She rushed from door to door, asking for a mustard seed. But every household had a story. "We lost our mother last winter. My brother died in an accident. My husband has passed away." By the time she reached the last house, she finally understood. She was not alone in her suffering. Everyone had experienced loss. Grief was not hers alone to bear. It was part of being human. She returned to the Buddha, tears streaming down her face. But this time, they were not just tears of grief, they were tears of understanding. She buried her child and devoted herself to the Buddha's teachings, finding peace not in escaping suffering, but in accepting its universality. How to apply this in your life? 1. Remember, everyone experiences fear and pain. Oh, when fear strikes, remind yourself, I am not alone in this. Oh, fear feels isolating, but it is something every person experiences, rich or poor, young or old. You are not broken, you are human. 2. Seek support. Fear loses power when shared. Oh, talk to a friend, family member, or mentor. Oh, notice how, when you share your worries, they feel lighter. Oh, connection is a powerful antidote to suffering. 3. Understand that suffering is part of life. Stop resisting it. Oh, the more we resist suffering, the stronger it becomes. Oh, instead of asking, why me? Try asking, what is this teaching me? Oh, accepting that pain is universal makes it less overwhelming. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Kissa Gotami's suffering did not disappear overnight, but her understanding changed. She no longer saw herself as a victim of fate. Instead, she saw herself as part of a greater whole, a human being who, like everyone else, must face the realities of life. And when you realize that fear, suffering, and uncertainty are not just yours to bear, but are shared by all, you find something unexpected, peace. Lesson 5. Let go of attachment, tanha. Release the need for control. At the heart of fear lies attachment, to possessions, relationships, identities, and expectations. We hold on tightly, convinced that these things define us, that without them, we will be lost. But the more we cling, the greater our fear, fear of losing what we have, fear of things not going the way we planned, fear of the unknown. The Buddha taught that tanha, craving and attachment, is the root cause of suffering. When we become attached to things being a certain way, we suffer when reality does not align with our expectations. But here's the truth: we control far less than we think we do. Real peace comes when we let go, not by giving up, but by releasing our grip on the illusion of control. The story of the painter, art without fear. There was once a young painter, deeply talented but paralyzed by fear. He wanted his paintings to be perfect. Every brushstroke had to be precise. Every detail had to impress. But his pursuit of perfection became his prison. He spent hours agonizing over each canvas, afraid of making mistakes. Instead of painting freely, he hesitated, constantly doubting himself. His art, once a source of joy, became a burden. Frustrated, he went to his teacher, a wise old artist, and confessed, "I am afraid to paint because I fear it won't be perfect." The teacher smiled and handed him a blank canvas. "Paint like the wind," he said, "expect nothing." At first, the young painter hesitated, but as he let go of the pressure to create something perfect, his hands moved freely. He painted with emotion, without overthinking, without fear. And something miraculous happened. His art flourished. He realized that perfection was an illusion, and attachment to it had been blocking his creativity all along. How to apply this in your life? 1. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that creates fear? Oh, is it your job, a relationship, the idea of who you should be? Oh, identify what you are clinging to so tightly that it causes you stress and anxiety. 2. Let go of expectations. Oh, just like the painter, release the need for things to be perfect. Oh, instead of worrying about results, focus on the process. 3. Practice non-attachment daily. Oh, enjoy things without needing to own or control them. Oh, love people fully without fearing their loss. Oh, work hard, but detach from the outcome. 4. Accept that change is inevitable. Oh, nothing stays the same forever, and that's okay. Oh, true peace comes from embracing the flow of life, rather than trying to control it. Freedom lies in letting go. The young painter found his greatest art when he released his fear of failure. And you will find your greatest peace when you let go of attachment and trust in life. Because the less you cling, the less you fear. Lesson 6. Cultivate patience. Khanti, fear will pass. Fear often arises from impatience, our desperate need for answers, for certainty, for things to happen on our timeline. We want solutions now. We want to know that everything will be okay. And when life does not give us immediate clarity, fear takes over. But life does not unfold according to our demands. It moves at its own rhythm, like the changing seasons, the growing of a tree, or the ripening of a fruit. Rushing the process only leads to frustration and suffering. True wisdom comes when we cultivate khanti, patience. When we learn to trust time and accept uncertainty, fear loses its grip. The story of the impatient student. A young man, eager for enlightenment, sought out a Zen master. "Master, how long until I find peace?" he asked. The master smiled and replied, 10 years. Frustrated, the student asked, "What if I dedicate myself completely, practicing day and night, pushing myself harder?" The master chuckled and said, "Then it will take 20 years. The student was confused. Why longer? The master replied, "Because when you are impatient, your mind is restless, you are too focused on the destination and blind to the journey. True peace comes not from rushing but from surrendering to the natural flow of life." At that moment, the student understood. He realized that impatience itself was an obstacle. The more he rushed toward peace, the further it drifted away. And so, he began to slow down, to embrace the present, to let go of his urgent need for answers. And in that surrender, peace finally came. How to apply this in your life? 1. Trust time. Every fear fades with patience. Oh, fear feels overwhelming in the moment, but time softens its intensity. Oh, think about past fears. Many of them faded naturally over time. The same will happen with your current fears. 2. Accept that you don't have to control everything. Oh, life is unpredictable, and that's okay. The more you try to control every outcome, the more stress and fear you create. Oh, instead of resisting uncertainty, embrace it as part of the journey. 3. Practice waiting without anxiety. Oh, whether it's waiting for career progress, personal growth, or healing, trust that everything unfolds at the right time. Oh, when impatience arises, take a deep breath and remind yourself, I don't need all the answers right now. Things will unfold as they should. 4. Slow down and be present. Oh, instead of always thinking about the future, practice enjoying the moment. Oh, a mindful walk, a deep breath, or a quiet cup of tea can teach you the art of patience. Fear cannot survive in a patient mind. The impatient student wanted peace immediately, but peace is not something to be chased, it is something to be allowed. And so it is with fear. When you stop demanding instant clarity and instead trust the process, fear loses its power. Because everything, including fear, will pass. Fear does not have to be your enemy. It is not something to fight against, nor something to run from. It is simply a messenger, revealing where you are still holding on, where you are still resisting, where you are still afraid to trust the flow of life. When you stop seeing fear as a force that controls you and instead recognize it as a teacher, everything changes. Impermanence, anicca, teaches you that fear, like everything else, will pass. Seeing through illusion shows you that fear is often a story, not a reality. Mindfulness, sati, keeps you present, where fear has no power. Understanding suffering, dukkha, reminds you that you are not alone. Letting go of attachment, tanha, frees you from the need for control. Cultivating patience, khanti, allows you to trust that time will ease all fears. Fear is not here to stop you, it is here to show you where you can grow. So the next time fear arises, do not run, do not fight, instead, look at it, understand it, and let it go. You are stronger than your fear, and you are free. Thank you for watching.